Welcome back. I'm Grant, and for the last number of weeks, I've been answering a lot of different questions that you have. And again, I'm going to keep doing this because I really enjoy it. It gives me a chance to just freely share my ideas with you, answer your questions, and give you the same advice that I give all my corporate clients. And so it's a really nice format of being able to do this. And I feel like I can just speak comfortably and confidently to you, share my ideas, and let's see how it goes today. So I'll try to give you the question that was asked and give you my short answer to it, maybe a couple of different points about what I think is important, and then I'll go into some detail about each of those things. All right? Should we get started? Let's take a look here. Here's a question I get a lot, and something I work on a lot. And the question was, how can I speak more naturally instead of sounding like a robot? Really common question, especially happens to people when they speak a different language. I think I look at this in this way. I would say one of the important things is to really stress or emphasize adjectives with some feeling when you're speaking. And then I'd change your tone, not just your volume, but be able to make your voice go up or down. And last, I would add short pauses because it really helps make it easier for your listener. Let me go into a little bit more about this. So I'd say speaking naturally isn't about perfect grammar. It's about sounding human. When you stress important words like adjectives so that your sentence really has some kind of shape to it. Change your tone. As an example, go up when you're curious or go down when you're certain about something. And one of my favorites is just add pauses to give your listener more time to process your words. This combination of all these things makes your English sound alive and certainly not like a robot. Let's look at this in a little bit more detail. So I think you should stress adjectives with feeling. And I think of adjectives as being describing words. If I said, the sky is a beautiful blue today, and sound like a robot, it's like, okay, yeah, that's right, Grant. Or I could say, the sky is a beautiful blue today. Well, there's a lot of feeling when I put the word beautiful in there and I stress it as an adjective. If you really try that, your speaking will change a lot. And I find it builds a lot of confidence. When I build my course, at the beginning, everything's about speaking with feeling. And when I coach clients, same. Everything is about getting people to speak with feeling. And the easiest way to do that is to take adjectives and add some oomph to them. A beautiful blue sky. And then it really works. The next one I gave in my answer here was to change your tone, not just your volume. Just because you speak loud doesn't mean you don't sound like a robot anymore. You just sound like a loud robot. But instead, let your tone go up and down. And that's really difficult for many of you when you're speaking English because you're not confident in doing that. But when you start to match your tone with the right sound, if you will, so that I am serious. You can see how deep I was. Now, what if you did this? And I add a little excitement and bring my voice up. It really works nicely. And that's what you can do. So I encourage you to give that a try. The last thing I talked about here was adding short pauses. And I'm a huge believer in pausing because I think pausing gives you confidence. So you group some words together, then you pause, and then you group the next words together, like where you'd find an and or a but or a comma. You group this small group of words together. And so it's blah, 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 and pause, blah, blah, blah. And you have these two different thoughts, and they connect really well together. Well, it's not only for you as a speaker, but it's also for your listener. And it makes it really easy for your listener because now you don't sound like a robot when you pause in there. And it really helps. And we all know somebody that can talk like this forever and ever and ever, and then they continue on, and then they go to the next topic and the next subject, and oh my, it's so difficult to listen to, and they sound just like a robot. So if you add pauses, you really help your listener, and you don't sound like a robot, all right? So give those 3 a try and see how that works for you. Let's go to the next question. Next question is, that somebody asked here was, how do I ask good questions in meetings? Lots of times people just really struggle trying to even ask a question. And when they get the courage and become brave and they ask a question, then it's, well, was that a good question? 3 things that I would look at here. One would be to show interest in the other person's idea, somebody else that's in this meeting or in this presentation. But in this case, it's in a meeting. So show some interest in somebody that also spoke before you. And then use open-ended questions, starting with what or how. And it really, really works nicely. Last, I would keep your questions short and clear. And that means you might have to practice sometimes to make these things short and clear. But those 3 things together work really well. And I think that good questions really show confidence. And they do. I know many people are scared to speak in meetings, but when you ask good questions, you show that you're confident, not only in English, but whatever the meeting is about. And that's what's important. And I think when you start complimenting something that someone said earlier and then add an open-ended question, you'll invite some real discussion. Let me give you an example. So instead of saying, is this correct? In the middle of some meeting, say something like this. I really like what you said earlier, John. How do you think we could improve this? Now, you've got an open-ended question. It's not yes or no. Is it right? Yes or no? It's an open-ended question. And it really works well. So showing interest in other people, I think, makes people want to respond. You create a little connection there, and they really want to respond. And clear questions, short questions, always make it easier for others to answer. So don't over-explain and go on and on. Just ask. Just ask your question. Forget about your grammar. That's super important. So if we look at each of these, I said, how to ask good questions. And I think this is really important. And I also think it's easy for you to participate in English meetings when you show some interest in another person's idea. And one of the things I always give my clients is if you want to join a meeting and you want to participate, well, it's really nice to say something nice about something that somebody else said. Susan, that was a really interesting point you made. I also wonder, what if we added this to it? What do you think? Well, you've already complimented Susan. She's going to be happy. And she is going to participate in your answer, as will others. Instead of being negative and everything else, you can do that. But even if you have a different point of view, you can still compliment. I really appreciate the point you made about XYZ. Well, you didn't like what they talked about ABC, but you loved XYZ. So pick something you really like and be able to compliment it if possible. Don't make it fake. You got to be real. And you see what happens with it. And then when you compliment and you add an open-ended question, not a question that can be answered with yes or no or some one-word answer. You want somebody to explain more information, to give some additional ideas about something, to continue their thoughts that they started sharing earlier, to go into, add a direction to this thing. Wow, we're going this way. What do you think if we were to do this? You had some really great ideas earlier. How could we be able to maybe go in this direction also? Really curious to hear what you have to say. People will love it. It works out great. And again, keeping your questions short and clear, super important. And I'm somebody that talks too much and I go blah, 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 blah. But if you keep these things short and clear, people are more interested. And it takes a little bit of practice. So as you're preparing for these meetings, think about the questions that you really want to ask. And you might have to practice, especially in English, to keep these things short and clear. Go to ChatGPT and ask, hey, how can I use really simple English and keep this kind of question short and clear? And you get some great responses, but you should practice a little bit and it'll just make it work out so much better. All right, let's go on. Take a look at the next question here. Here's another question that somebody asked. And they asked, what do I do if I lose my place during a presentation? Something we all have a little fear about, and we've all done. So I'd say just a couple of brief things. First, pause, breathe, and reset your thoughts. Next, use a phrase like, let's move on to the next topic. And finally, don't apologize too much. Just continue and have some confidence. Show you're confident so that they know you're confident in the topic. I think the first thing to remember is everyone does this. Everyone has lost their place at some time. It's super normal. Native speakers do it in English all the time. It happens all the time. We can all feel this, and we all know it's normal. So the key is not to panic. Just take a breath. Take a look at your notes quickly and then reset. Say something like, let's move on to the next topic that I have here. It'll give you some extra time to think, figure out where you are, and it'll be really natural. And honestly, most people won't even notice. So this idea of pausing and breathing and resetting is, I think, super important. You just take a pause and you just breathe and relax. And often it'll come right back to you where you were, what you were talking about, and what the case was. And if it doesn't, just take a look at the slide that's up there during your presentation and say, okay, I think we can move on to the next topic here. And that's fine. Most people aren't even going to notice. And so it works out well. Just be confident with it. Don't apologize. Don't lose your whole confident feel of giving your presentation, because you have a choice here. You can make this thing go, ooh, and you just do a miserable job with the rest of your presentation, or you continue on and you be confident and you just accept that this happened. It's going to happen again at some point in the future. It's life. We all do it. So don't worry too much about this. I think that's just super, super important. All right. So if you lose your place during a presentation that you're giving in English, don't worry so much. It happens to all of us. It happens to me, continues to happen to me to this day. I'm coaching somebody and I forget what I was talking about. And it's just normal. You can laugh it off a little bit. It's okay. Just be human. Nobody's expecting you to be Superman or Superwoman here. Just relax and you'll be just fine. All right? Okay, there's 3 more of your questions and the answers that I have to share with you. As always, I hope you enjoy this. Please continue to keep asking your questions. Have a great day, and I'll see you very soon. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, share your comments, and I also invite you to learn your Business English Confidence Score. You'll find the link in the description below this video.